Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki jai, Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad, Ashtatarashatashmar Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad, Ashtatarashatashmar Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad, Ashtatarashatashmar Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad, Ashtatarashatashmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada ki jai. Nityal Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Srila Gaura-pariṣada Babaji Mahārāja ki jai. Nityal Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura ki jai. Nityal Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Raghunātha Babaji Mahārāja ki jai. Shri Rupa Nuguriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhattadas Raghunath Shāra Gosai Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaura-pariṣada-caritāvali ki jai. नाम अक्षय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जाय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जाय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जाय। श्री राधा कुंद श्याम कुंद की जाय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande. Oh, sorry, so many days today. Shri Vishnu Priya Devi ki jai, Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Titi ki jai, Shri Pundarik Vidyanidhi ki jai, Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Titi ki jai, Shri Raghunandan Thakur ki jai, Avirbhav Titi ki jai, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami Par ki jai, Tadiya Avirbhav Titi ki jai, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ki jai, Tadiya Shubha Tiravav Titi ki jai. Shri Srila Bhakti Vivek Bharati Gosai Maharaj ki jai, Tadiya Shubha Tiravav Titi ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava. Shri Vasant Panchami ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Well, there's nobody watching. Anyways, I'll just read and maybe somebody will watch later on. So I am reading from this book, Sri Caitanya and His Associates by Srila Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Goswami Maharaj. It's strange that nobody's watching though. Let me just see if everything's working okay. I'm just quickly checking to make sure it actually came up. Let's see. Doesn't look like it came up on Facebook. Is anybody watching on Facebook? No. That's so strange. Why is it not coming up? Anyhow, whatever. If I just read now, it will eventually go live. I mean, sorry, people will eventually see it, I think. All right, so I'm reading from this book, as I mentioned, by Srila Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Goswami Maharaj. And let me open it now. I just scanned it so that you can read along with me. Yeah, for some reason Facebook isn't making it go around. I didn't get any notification here. Usually it says Madhukar Das went live, but I don't see anything like that here. Anyhow, what to do? Okay. So, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. Dāsa Shri Raghunathasya Purvakya Rasamanjari Amam Kechich Prabhashante Shrimatim Ratimanjarim Bhanumatyakya Kechit Ahustang Nama Vedata. That's from Gaura-pariṣada-caritāvali, verse 186. 3 different names are ascribed to Raghunath Das from his previous identity as a Manjari in Krishna Lila. Some say he was a Ras Manjari, others a Rati Manjari, and yet others Bhanumati. Interesting. Don't some say he's also Tulsi Manjari? Or maybe I'm getting mixed up. Anyways, so if you're just coming to watch this now, I'm reading from Srila Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Gosvāmī Mahārāja. Still nobody there. Anyhow, Raghunath Dasa's childhood. Raghunath Dasa appeared in around 1495 AD in the village of Krishnapur, which is not far south of the current railway station named Adi Saptagram on the eastern bank of the ancient Saraswati River. Krishnapur is about a mile from Adi Saptagram station and approximately 1.5 miles from Trishbhika station. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami was the son of Govardhan Majumdar. His mother's name is not known. Govardhan's elder brother, Hiranya, was childless. The two brothers belonged to the Kayasta class and were the primary landholders in Saptagram. In those days, the borders of Saptagram stretched from Jeshore Bhairav Creek almost up to the Rupa Narayan River. Raghunath Das lived in Saptagram Krishnapur. His uncle Kalidas, who was also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotee, lived in Shankanagar. Raghunath Das's family priest, Balaram Acharya, and his guru, Yadunandan Acharya, lived in the town of Chandapur. Yadunandan Acharya was an intimate disciple of Advaita Acharya and a dedicated devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who had also received the special blessings of Vasudev Datta Ṭhākura. After delivering the prostitute sent to tempt him by Ramachandra Khan, Haridas Thakur left Benapol and came to Chandapur, where he stayed with Balaram Acharya. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami was just a young boy at this time, but he had the opportunity to see Haridas Thakur and receive his blessings. These blessings were the cause of Raghunath Das Goswami's later being able to attain the association of Mahaprabhu. Raghunath Das was just a little boy engaged in studies when he had the darshan of Haridas Thakur. Haridas was merciful to him, and this mercy was the reason that he later was able to attain the company of Lord Chaitanya. That's from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Lila, chapter 3, verse 8, 168, 169. Still nobody. Sorry, guys, or whatever. I'm just talking to myself right now. Raghunath Dasa's desire to join the Lord. Hiranya and Govardhan Majumdar had an annual income of 8 lakhs coins, 800,000 coins. At that time, a coin could buy about 650 pounds of rice, which means it had several hundred times the value of a rupee today. Even though Raghunath Das was the only heir to this great fortune, he was indifferent to riches from his childhood. He had his first opportunity to see Mahaprabhu when the Lord came to Shantipur after taking sannyas. As soon as he saw the Lord, Raghunath Das Goswami fell to his feet in a transport of divine love. Raghunath Das's father, Govardhan Majumdar, always served Advaita Acharya with faith and devotion, and thus Advaita Prabhu was inclined to show kindness to the young Raghunath Das Goswami. He thus made sure that Raghunath Das Goswami received the Lord's remnants for as long as he remained in Shantipur. When the Lord departed for Puri, Raghunath Das Goswami returned to his home in Saptagram, but was constantly feeling intense separation from the Lord. Seeing him in this condition, his father surrounded Raghunath Das Goswami by a guard of 11 men, including 2 Brahmins, 4 servants, and 5 guards. Whoa. Even so, Raghunath tried on several occasions to run away in order to join the Lord, but each time was caught and was brought back before realizing his objectives. Raghunath Das Goswami became dejected as a result of this situation. Seeing their son in such a state, his parents were not at all at peace. When the Lord returned from Kanar-Natshala and to Shantipur during his attempts to visit Vrindavan, he again stayed there for a short period of time. Raghunath Das Goswami wanted to see the Lord and this time begged his father to give him permission. Govardhan was worried about the state of his son's mind and finally decided to let him go on the condition that he return quickly. He also sent a large entourage of guards to accompany him. When Raghunath Das Goswami saw the Lord, it was as though he got a new life. He told the Lord of his intolerable situation and prayed to him to tell him how he could break free from his material bondage. The all-knowing Lord could understand the depth of Raghunath Das Goswami's feeling. And the Rupa, oops, what? I think I went up too high. Let me reread that. The all-knowing Lord could understand the depth of Raghunath Das Goswami's feeling, and yet he tried to pacify him with the following instruction. He said, calm yourself and return home. Don't be foolish. It takes time to cross the ocean of material suffering. Don't make a show of Markata Vairagya, monkey renunciation, simply for public display. Accept whatever is required for the body and the worldly life without attachment. Be fixed on Krishna internally, while externally dealing with the world in the appropriate fashion. It will not be long before Krishna delivers you. It's Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya, chapter 16, 237 to 239. What? How does the verse go? Stira ho something na hoy batul. Markata vairagya loka dekaya. What is it? Since nobody's watching right now, I might as well just go. Oh wait, look, there's somebody watching. I'm just gonna look it up in the book really quick. Oh, batul. Achirat Krishna. I'm just looking up in the book Sanatana Goswami. Oops, there it is. Sorry, I'm just looking up in this is the original book. Shri Gaura-pariṣada or Gaudiya Vaishnavacharya Ganer Sangshipt-Caritāvali. No, Charitamrit. Stira ho. Okay, here it is. Stira hoya ghare jao na ho batul krame krame paye lok bhava sindhu kul. Markata vairagya na koro loka dekaya jatha yoga vishay bhunja anasakta hoya. Antare nishta koro bahye loka vyavahar achirat Krishna tomar. Sorry, achirat Krishna tomai korive udhar. That's a nice 3 verses. I want to try to memorize it. Stira ho gore jao na ho batul. Okay. Haribo and Dira Mataji. Cool. Finally, there's somebody there. All right. So calm yourself and return home. Don't be foolish. It takes time to cross the ocean of material suffering. Don't make a show of Markata Vairagya, monkey renunciation, simply for public display. Accept whatever is required for the body and the worldly life without attachment. Be fixed on Krishna internally, while externally dealing with the world in the appropriate fashion. It will not be long before Krishna delivers you. Okay, so that was Mahaprabhu's instruction. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Ṭhākura has made the following comments on the word Markata Vairagya. To a superficial eye, monkeys are engaged in renunciation because they live naked in the forest without any fixed home. In fact, they are only interested in their own sensual enjoyment and have never given it up. Such show bottle renunciation is called Markata Vairagya, monkey renunciation. Real renunciation comes as a side effect of pure devotion and is long-lasting. And other types of renunciation, which arise out of frustration with material pleasures or desires, cannot last throughout one's life. Because of its temporary character, such renunciation is therefore called falgu, or false. Such temporary renunciation, or monkey renunciation, is also known as Shmashan Vairagya, the renunciation of the cremation ground. One may accept things which are absolutely necessary in order to serve Krishna without becoming absorbed in them or attached to them. If one lives in this way, he will not be under the influence of the karmic reactions. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-108, it is said, Yavatasyat svanirvaha swikuryat tavad artavit adhikye nyunatayam cha javate paramarthata. One who knows his purpose should accept only as much as he needs to maintain his existence. If he accepts more or less than that, he will fall from the supreme objective. Srila Jiva Goswami glosses the word svanirvaha in his Durgama Sangamani commentary with the words swaswa bhakti nirvaha. That is, a devotee should accept only those material things that will help him render service to the Lord, according to his own individual needs. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-256, Markata Vairagya, or Falgu Vairagya, has been more clearly explained as follows. Prapanchikataya buddhya hari sambandhi vastuna mumukshu bhi parityago vairagyam falgukatyate. Falgu Vairagya is defined as the rejection of something which is related to the Lord in the understanding that it is something material. The seekers of liberation are engaged in such renunciation. In other words, it is a mistake to renounce something which is favorable to the service of Lord Krishna, thinking it to be an ordinary material sense object. Anasaktasya vishayan yatarham upayunjata nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam uchyate. This is the definition of yukta vairagya. Yukta vairagya is defined as the attitude of one who is detached from the objects of the senses, but uses them only inasmuch as they have utility in the service of Lord Krishna. Hence, devoid of selfish attachment and endowed with the ability to see things in relation to the Lord, all sense objects then are directly perceived as being Lord Madhav himself. Taking Mahaprabhu's instruction to heart, Raghunath Das Goswami returned home and gave up his desire to renounce material life and madness, and instead engaged in his various duties with a sense of detachment. When his parents saw Raghunath Das Goswami abandon all the external signs of renunciation, they were delighted, and they began to think that there is no necessity for such a tight guard around their son. Hiranya Majumdar's tax problems. Hare Krishna, Gargrajji. In those days, there was an officer of the king with the title Chaudhary, or the present-day Nawab, right? Yeah. Who acted as an intermediary between the king and the zamindars. Naib? Nawab. No, Naib. Anyways, yeah, he's an intermediary between the king and the zamindars. He collected taxes from the landowners and received a commission of 25% on them. Hiranya Majumdar, however, paid his taxes directly to the Shah, with whom he had a special agreement, and thus cut out the middleman. On an income of 2 million rupees, Hiranya was paying only 1,200,000 rather than 1,500,000. Since the Chaudhary was losing a large amount of commission, he became an enemy to the Majumdars. Ever since returning from his meeting with Mahaprabhu, Raghunath Das Goswami was practicing Yukta Vairagya in accordance with the Lord's instructions. However, when he heard that Mahaprabhu returned from Vrindavan, he started making preparations to join him in Puri. At that time, the Muslim Chaudhary had started making complaints to the Shah about Hiranya Majumdar out of anger at being cheated of his percentage of the tax revenue. Fearful of arrest, Hiranya and Govardhan Majumdar went into hiding. When the minister came to investigate the Chaudhary's complaints, he arrested Raghunath Das, since his father and uncle were not present. The Chaudhary came daily to rebuke and threaten Raghunath Das Goswami, asking him to reveal their whereabouts. Finally, he decided to have Raghunath Das Goswami beaten, but when he saw his calm, lotus-like face, he was unable to continue. In fact, though he verbally chastised him, the Chaudhary was afraid to cause him any real harm because Raghunath Das Goswami belongs to an influential family of the Kayasta class. He knew that the Kayastas are intelligent and could plot against him, causing him worse problems. Raghunath Das Goswami himself was looking for a way to extricate himself from the situation and spoke to the Chaudhary in a sweet voice. "My father and uncle are like your brothers. The behavior of brothers is difficult to understand. Sometimes they fight amongst themselves, sometimes they are loving, and sometimes they are loving to each other. Today you are arguing, but tomorrow I am sure that you will be reconciled with each other. I am your son as much as I am my father's, and therefore you are my protector. It is not right for one such as yourself to punish his dependent. I need say no more, for you know the scriptures and are practically a living saint, appeared." The Chaudhary was affected by Raghunath Das Goswami's sweet words and began to cry as he was overcome by affection for him. He said, "From now on, I consider you to be my son. I will find an excuse to have you freed today. Have your uncle meet with me and make arrangements so that I can get my share of the revenues." Thus, Raghunath Das Goswami was able to appease the Chaudhary by his sweet and diplomatic behavior and bring the dispute between him and his uncle to an end. In the meantime, Raghunath Das Goswami's father was making arrangements for his son's marriage to an extremely beautiful girl in order to ensure his commitment to the family. The Danda Mahotsav. A year later, Raghunath Das Goswami once again became anxious to see Mahaprabhu and repeatedly ran away from home in an effort to go to Puri. Each time, he was caught by his father and returned home. Raghunath Das Goswami's mother thought that her son was going mad and told her husband to bind him with ropes. Govardhan responded in defeated tones. "He has as much wealth as Indra, the king of the gods, and his wife is as beautiful as the heavenly courtesans. If these things have not been able to capture his mind, then how will mere ropes be able to do so? The father who gives life to a child cannot interfere with the effects of his previous life's actions. Sri Chaitanya Chandra has given his blessings to this boy. Who can keep prisoner one who has been made mad by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?" That's from Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya 6:39-41. While Raghunath Das was devising a plan for how he would be delivered from his entanglements, he heard that Nityananda Prabhu had made an auspicious appearance in the town of Panihati. Thinking that Nityananda Prabhu was the deliverer of the most fallen and that by his mercy he would surely be able to find his freedom, he went across the Ganges to Panihati, where he found the Lord sitting under a tree on an elevated seat, surrounded by his associates. As soon as Raghunath Das Goswami saw him from a distance, he fell down like a stick. The merciful Lord Nityananda Prabhu immediately had him brought close to him and placed his feet on his head. Understanding the deep-rooted desires of Raghunath Das Goswami's heart, he arranged for him to perform a service to the Vaishnavas so that he could realize his cherished objective. "Like a thief, you don't come near me, but simply try to run away. Now that I have caught you, I shall punish you. I want you to feed all my followers chipped rice and yogurt." When he heard Nityananda Prabhu's command, Raghunath's mind was filled with joy. That's Chaitanya Charitamrita Antilila chapter 6, 50-51. The festival which Nityananda Prabhu ordered Raghunath Das Goswami to put on is still celebrated as the Panihati Chira Dadi Mahotsav, also known as Danda Mahotsav. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself and his non-different manifestation Nityananda Prabhu celebrated the festival along with their associates, eating on the banks of the Ganges, just as though they were the cowherd boys on the banks of the Yamuna River. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, their associates, numerous Brahmins, and countless men and women enjoyed a feast of milk and chipped rice and yogurt. Sorry, a feast of milk and chipped rice and yogurt and chipped rice. The opportunity to serve the Lord and his devotees in this way was something that could not come about except for some great fortune. On the following day, Raghunath Das Goswami distressfully asked Nityananda Prabhu through Raghava Pandit how he could possibly gain freedom from his material entanglements and find the association of Mahaprabhu. Like an ocean of mercy, Nityananda Prabhu placed his feet on Raghunath Das Goswami's head and said, "You arranged this feast on the banks of the river, and Mahaprabhu was merciful to you and came here himself to enjoy it. He blessed you by accepting the offering of chipped rice and yogurt. Then, after watching the devotees dancing, he took prasad in the evening. Lord Gauranga came here just to deliver you, and now he has removed any impediments which remains. He will turn you over to Sarup Damodar, and, making you his confidential servant, he will keep you by his side. Go home now and forget your worries. You will soon be able to go to the Lord without any difficulties." That's from Chaitanya Charitamrita, same chapter, 139, 143, chapter 6 of Antya-lila. After discussing with Raghava Pandit, Raghunath Das Goswami gave a large sum of money as dakshina to be paid to Nityananda Prabhu and his associates. He himself thought as though his life had been fulfilled after receiving Nityananda Prabhu's blessings. Upon returning to his house, he never again entered the inner quarters, but remained outside where he slept in the Durga Mandap. Nevertheless, there were always guards posted near him to prevent him from running away. Raghunath Das escapes. Hare Krishna, Ananda Gopal Prabhu and Ganga Mataji. Oh, thanks for letting me know. I thought it was sharing the screen this whole time. Okay, I think I have to stop sharing. Sorry about that. Let's try now. Okay, now it's sharing. Oops, I thought you were reading along with me this whole time. Okay, Raghunath Das escapes. Though Raghunath Das Goswami knew that the devotees from Bengal were preparing their annual trip to Puri, he was afraid of joining them because he knew he would easily be caught. One day, at the end of the night, Yadunandanacharya came to Raghunath Das Goswami and told him that a disciple who performs the puja had abandoned his service and needed to be persuaded to take it up again, as there was no replacement. Raghunath Das Goswami accompanied his guru while all the guards were still sleeping. After walking away with Yadunandanacharya, however, Raghunath Das Goswami told him to return to his home, saying he would go alone to the disciple's house and convince him to come and perform his duties. He told him not to worry and bid him goodbye. With no guards or servants around him, Raghunath Das Goswami realized that he had a golden opportunity to make his escape. Meditating on Mahaprabhu's lotus feet, he started to walk toward the east. He avoided the main roads for fear of being caught, and even the smaller ones that ran through the villages. Despite the difficult route through the jungle, he walked 30 miles on the very first day, finally taking rest in a milkman's cowshed that evening. The milkman saw that he had not eaten for the entire day, gave him some milk. When Govardhan Majumdar heard that his son had run away, he immediately sent a group of 10 servants with a letter for Shivananda Sen, who was already on his way to Puri with the devotees, telling him to send Raghunath back. They caught up with the group of pilgrims, but were disappointed to find that Raghunath was not with them. Meanwhile, Raghunath Das Goswami was walking at great speed towards Puri, completely oblivious to his own fatigue and hunger. Raghunath Das Goswami arrived in Puri after only 12 days, having stopped to eat only 3 times on the way and resting only infrequently. And this is normally a 1-month trip, but he did it in 12 days. He came upon Mahaprabhu, who was sitting with Sarup Damodar, and paid his obeisance to the Lord from a certain distance. Mukunda Datta informed the Lord that Raghunath had arrived and was paying his obeisances. The Lord told him to approach, and Raghunath Das fell at his feet. The Lord embraced him, his heart melting with compassion for the exhausted young man. He said, "Nothing is more powerful than Krishna's mercy. It has dragged you out of the deep latrine pit of sense gratification." Let's see the Bengali. 1 second. Whatever. No, I can't find it. Anyways, okay, let's continue. Raghunath Das Goswami answered, and the Lord, Raghunath Das Goswami answered the Lord mentally, thinking, I know nothing about Krishna. I believe that it was me out of that hole. I'm just looking, where is it? Okay. Mahaprabhu's maternal grandfather, Nilambar Chakravarti, knew Raghunath Das Goswami's father and used to call them Bhaya because they were younger than him. They called him Dada, older brother, because he was their elder and a Brahma. Knowing that this relationship existed between them, Mahaprabhu joked with Raghunath, saying, and here's the Bengali, Tomar bap jeshta, vishay vishta garter kida. Your father and uncle are like worms in the latrine pit of sense gratification. They think that suffering, which comes from sense gratification, is happiness. Sukh kori mane visher mahapira. Even though they believe in Brahminical culture and contribute to it, they are not pure Vaishnavas, only imitation Vaishnavas. It says, Yadyapi Brahmanya kore Brahmanera sahai. Shuddha Vaishnav nahi, Vaishnavera prai. They resemble Vaishnavas, but they aren't actually Vaishnavas. Vaishnavera prai. The nature of the sense objects is that they make one blind. They make one engage in activities which result in material bondage. It is not possible to properly describe Krishna's mercy, which has delivered you from such bondage. It's Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya 6, 197 to 200. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Ṭhākura has written the following about Krishna's mercy and the suffering caused by the poison of sense gratification. Krishna's mercy is more powerful than the results of one's previous activities. It was this powerful compassion of the Lord which pulled Raghunath Das Goswami out of the latrine hole of sensual existence. A living entity who is attached to sense gratification does not have the strength to give it up. For the living being who has become a pure devotee of Krishna, however, sense enjoyments are like a ditch of stool. Mahaprabhu knew that Raghunath Das Goswami was completely free from any attachment to sense gratification. Nonetheless, he said this to him as a teaching to us. That's from Anubhashya on verse 193. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami continues. Sense objects bring great distress to their desire. Even so, those whose brains are completely immersed in the objects of sense gratification and are entangled in the whirlpool of material existence consider these sources of distress to be happiness. The objects of material sense gratification should be discarded in the same way that one abandons an outhouse. And one whose mind is possessed by the desire for these objects of gratification is like a maggot who feeds off the stools in the latrine. This is how the transcendentalists see the materialistic person who is trying to extract pleasure from inert matter. He has nothing but disdain for materialistic persons, which he sees being exactly like the pleasure of a maggot. which he sees, exactly like the pleasure a maggot extracts from the taste of rotting excrement. That's from Anubhashya, verse 197. Raghunath Dasa's renunciation. Haribo, Madhurika Didi. One second, I just want to stop this from bouncing up and down. Okay. Raghunath Dasa's renunciation. Mahaprabhu noticed that Raghunātha was extremely weak, and so after him as his own son and servant. After accepting Raghunath Das Goswami as his own son and servant, he entrusted him to Swarup Damodar, telling him to take responsibility for him and to see to his well-being. From that time on, he was known as Swaruper Raghu, or Swarups Raghunath, to distinguish him from Raghunath Vaidya and Raghunath Bhatta. So there are already two other Raghunaths. So the way that he was differentiated, his unique name was Swaruper Raghu. The Lord also told Govinda to take care of the affection. He then told him to go and take his bath in the ocean and go to see Lord Jagannath, after which he was to join him for lunch. When Govinda gave Raghunath Das Goswami Lord's plate to eat, Raghunath was overjoyed. Things went on like this for 5 days, Raghunath Das Goswami taking the Lord's remnants each day. But on the 6th day, he stopped taking the Lord's Mahaprasad. From that day on, he went to Raghunath temple and took darshan of the Lord's flower offering at night, after which he would stand at the lion's gate and beg Mahaprasad. At night, after they had finished their duties, Lord Jagannath's servants would pass by on their way home and would customarily prasad to the hungry Vaishnavas who waited there. In this way, renounced Vaishnavas would maintain their life. This type of renounced attitude was particularly noticeable amongst Mahaprabhu's devotees. When the Lord asked about Raghunath Das Goswami and learns that taking prasad in the same way as before, but begging by the Singhadwar, the lion gate, he was satisfied to see that he was taking the renounced way of life so seriously. He said, "That's very good. He is taking the life of a seriously. A renunciate should always be engaged in repeating the names of the Lord and should maintain his life through begging. Anyone who takes the renounced order and then becomes dependent on others cannot achieve his ends, and Krishna will ignore him. One who becomes a renunciate and then lusts for tasty foods will never attain his spiritual goal and will simply become the slave of his taste buds. A renunciate's duty is to always chant the names of Lord Krishna and fill his belly with leaves, fruits, and roots. One who runs there looking for good things to eat becomes attached to his seconds and his belly and will never attain Krishna." That's Chaitanya Charitamrita 36222 and 227. What is that? And the Bengalis. Mahaprabhur Bhakta Ganer Vairagya Pradhan Jaha Deki Priti Gaura Bhagavan. Okay. And then Bhalo Vairagya Dharma Acharilo Vairagi Koribe Sada Nama Sankirtana. Oops, I messed up. Vairagi Koribe Sada Nama Sankirtan Magiya Kaya Kore Jivana Rakshan. Vairagi Hoya Jeva Kore Parapeka Karya Siddhi Nahe Krishna Kore na Upeka. Vairagi Hoya Kore Jivar Lalas Paramartha Jai Ar Hoy Raser Vash. Vairagir Krita Sada Nam Sankirtan Shaka Patra Fal Mula Udara Bharan Jivara Lalasek Jay Iti Uti Dhai Shishno Dara Parayana Krishna Nahi Pai. That's the Bengali. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Ṭhākura has understood that Mahaprabhu's associates are extremely detached from material objects and that to chant the names of the Lord is the only duty of such renunciates. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, examining them impartially, both materialistic non-devotees and pure Vaishnavas can see that Mahaprabhu's associates are not attached to the gratification of their material senses. They are indifferent to anything which cannot be used in the service of Krishna. Their renunciation for the transcendental service of Sri Krishna, which is unmotivated and uninterrupted, is incomprehensible to the ordinary materialistic person. When Lord Gaurasundar sees a devotee's ingenuity to engage in this kind of devotion, completely indifferent to sense objects which are outside the scope of his service needs, he feels great love for him. The various rituals described us are meant for the wealthy householder Vaishnavas who are imperfect, but not for the who are imperfect. But these rituals and us are not chapter 6, 223 translation of the Hari Bhakti Vilas. Anyways, okay. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami would never speak to the Lord directly, but asked Govinda or Swarup Damodar to submit any question or request to the Lord on his behalf. One day, he asked the Lord through Swarup Damodar to instruct on his duties. When the Lord heard this, he told Raghunath Das Goswami that Swarup Damodar knew far more than he did, and that he should take instruction from him about the goal of life and how to attain it. When Raghunath Dasa's eagerness to hear from him directly did not abate, the Lord said, if he has faith in my words, then let him follow these instructions. Okay, so these are famous instructions by Mahaprabhu. Yeah, this is good to memorize if you don't have it memorized already. Gramya katha na shunibe, gramya varta na kahibe. Do not listen to gossip, gramya katha, or engage in gossip yourself. So don't shunibe, do not hear it, and do not kahibe, do not speak it. Gramya katha na shunibe, gramya varta na kahibe. You should not eat very palatable food, nor should you dress very nicely. So how do you say that? Bhalo na khaibe. You should not eat palatable food. Or bhalo na poribe. You should not dress very nicely. Amani manada Krishna nama sada lobe. Always chant the holy name of Lord Krishna. What is that? Krishna nama sada lobe. Any expectation of honor, that means amani, and offering objects to others, that's manada. Amani manada hoya Krishna nama sada lobe. Mentally render service to Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. So Vraje Radha Krishna Seva Manase Koribe. So let me say that one more time. I'll say the whole thing. It's very simple Bengali. You can understand, right? Gramya katha na shunibe, gramya varta na kahibe. So don't hear gramya katha na shunibe, gramya varta na kahibe. Do not speak gramya katha. Bhalo na khaibe. Do not eat bhalo, do not eat nice things. Ar means and. Bhalo na poribe, and do not wear nice clothing. Poribe means wear. Do not wear nice things. Amani manada hoya, becoming amani and manada, not wanting respect for yourself and always giving respect to others. Amani manada hoya, Krishna nama sada lobe. Always chant. Sada means always, and lobe means take. Krishna nam. Krishna nam sada lobe. Then in Vraje, Radha Krishna Seva, the service of Radha and Krishna, Manase Koribe. You should do Manase in your mind. Vraje Radha Krishna Seva, Manase Koribe. Such easy Bengali. So Chaitanya Charitamrita 36, 236, 237. Devotees arrived in Puri for Rath Yatra and met Raghunath Das Goswami, who was particularly fortunate to receive Advaita Prabhu's blessings. Shivananda Sain told him that his father had been looking for him. After 4 months in Puri, the devotees returned to Bengal, and Shivananda gave news of Raghunath Das Goswami to Gomajumadar, telling him of his determined ascetic spiritual practices. His parents were distressed to hear of his lifestyle, and sent a Brahman, 2 servants, and 400 rupees to Shivananda for Raghunath Das Goswami. The following year, Shivananda took these servants and the money to Puri. He took them to Puri with him and informed Raghunath Das Goswami had sent them. Raghunath Das Goswami would not accept them, but thinking of his father's benefit, he took some of the money and used it to pay for Mahaprabhu's meals twice a month. After doing this for 2 years, Raghunath Das Goswami abandoned this practice also. In response to Mahaprabhu's question about why Raghunath had stopped inviting him, Sarup Damodar said that Raghunath had decided that since his father was a materialist, Mahaprabhu was not really pleased to eat the food purchased with his money. By such invitations, his only gain was some fame and status. Furthermore, he thought that Mahaprabhu was only accepting his invitations out of kindness because he was so foolish that he would be because Raghunath felt himself so foolish that he would be unhappy if he refused. But that, in fact, he was secretly not very pleased by it. Mahaprabhu was not very pleased by it. Mahaprabhu was greatly satisfied to hear this conclusion and said, this is also a really important verse. When one eats foods, one second, it was cutting out. That. All right, so he is satisfied to hear this conclusion. Vishayera anakaile malin hoy man. When one eats food offered by a materialistic person, malin hoy man, his man becomes malin, becomes contaminated. Vishayera anakaile malin hoy man. Malin man hoile nahe krishnera smaran. If the mind is contaminated, one is unable to remember Krishna. The food of a materialistic person is infected by the mode of passion, and both the person who contaminated. I accepted his invitation for many days, his displeasure. I am glad that he has realized all this and has given up this practice on his own initiative. That's the same chapter 6, verses 278 to 280. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Ṭhākura has commented on the above subject matter as follows. People who are egotistical and possessive are generally materialistic persons who try to enjoy the world for their own sense gratification. Such persons see their money as achieving such sense gratification. If they attempt to serve the Lord, the Guru, or the Vaishnavas, the material energy does not accept their offerings. Because of the taint of the sense enjoyer's false pride which contaminates such offerings, it is often seen that the pure Vaishnava is indifferent to such apparent service to the deity. In other words, a pure Vaishnava who has renounced the life of sense enjoyment does not accept such service. Rich materialistic sense gratifiers are so foolish because of their sense of identification with the body and mind that they become Vaishnava in their behavior. That's for the Anubhashya for 276. That's the next verse. Okay, now continuing. His Anubhashya. Non-devotees and Prakrit Sahajya the result of such flaws in association, such is that one will develop the same mentality as they. If one engages in even minimal association with the materialists or sahajas who are materialists in the guidelines, through any of these 6 kinds of association, that means exchanging gifts, food, or confidences, with even a drop of hidden affection, one engages in these kinds of association, even a drop of hidden, the result will be that the transcendental devotion to Lord Krishna is transformed gratification. And this will cause the aspiring devotees fall down. The conclusion is that one whose mind is fixed on the pleasures of the bodily senses and contaminated by the sense objects is too impure to be able to serve Krishna. Anubhashya for verse 278. Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura has also written about the rajasic character of a materialistic person's invitations. He says, invitations to dinner are of 3 kinds, sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. The invitations of a pure devotee is in the mode of goodness, that of a pious materialistic person in the mode of passion, while the invitation of a very sinful person in the mode of darkness. Raghunātha with each passing day. He's begging at the Singhadwar, the Lion's Gate, and started going instead to an almshouse. When Mahaprabhu heard this from Govinda, he asked Sarup Damodar what was the cause for the change. Time was being wasted at the Singhadwar, and was going to be he was going to the almshouse every day at noon instead. Mahaprabhu praised Das Goswami's decision, saying, begging by the Singhadwar resembles the behavior of a prostitute. Right? Because they're thinking, oh, will this person give me? Will this person give me? A prostitute waits for some man to come and give her some business. A beggar can as he waits kinds to him. Going for handouts at the almshouse does not present the kind of property to go at the proper the holy names. The sannyasi Shankarananda Saraswati sent Mahaprabhu Gunjamala and a Śrīla from Vrindavan. Cherish the 2 objects, taking to be identical to Radharani, Govardhan Śrīla to be identical to Krishna. Mahaprabhu would hold the Govardhan Śrīla to his head, to his eyes, and this would bring him great pleasure. After worshipping the necklace and the Śrīla for 3 years, he gave it to Raghunātha Das Goswami as a sign of his satisfaction with his devotion. Raghunātha Das Goswami felt honored and delighted by the Lord's gift, and taking them to be the direct representations of Shri Gandharva Giridhari, he worshipped them with water and tulsi leaves. When engaged in such loving service, he would go into a devotional trance. After his disappearance, the Govardhan placed in the Gokulananda temple, still being served. It is said of Raghunātha Das Goswami's aesthetic vows that they were like bronze and stone. He spent more than 22 hours a day chanting and in 2 hours a day engaged in chanting Krishna's names and in Saran with only about 1.5 hours of sleep for 1.5 hours for sleep and food. He ate enough. He allowed his foods to ever touch his tongue and wore only. Finally, he started going at night to gather the prasad, which the vendors started to go so. He would wash it to take out the dirt with which it had become the hard core of the grain cooked. This is what he would eat, only adding a little salt. One day, Sri Sarup Damodar Goswami saw Goswami doing this and asked him for some of this prasad, comparing it to the nectar of the gods. Even Mahaprabhu, when he heard full of Raghunath Das Goswami's prasad, Damodar prevented him from taking a. So Mahaprabhu said, "What is this all about? You are eating such nice things and not giving any to me?" Saying this, the Lord snatched a morsel from Raghunath and ate it. As he was to take another, Damodar caught him by the hand and said, "It is not fit for you," and took it away from him. That's from Caitanya Charitamrita, same chapter 6, verse 322 to 323. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami has himself sized Mahaprabhu's mercy on him in his verses called the Caitanya Stava Kalpa Vriksha, the desire of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's glories, which can be found in the collection called Stavavali. Oh God, I don't know the meter for this. Let me just look. Okay. Mahasampada. Anyways, whatever. I'm just gonna read it however. Patitya. Mahasampada. Whatever. Mahasampadavarapi patitamudritya kripaya sarupeya swiyekujanam apimam nyasamudita uro gunjaharam priyam apicha govardhana shilam tado me goranga hridaya udayan mam madayati. Sorry guys, it's hard to see when it's in. Anyways, by his mercy, he took pleasure in delivering me, even though I am one soul, the lowest of material opulence, and entrusted me to his personal associate. He gave me the cherished Gunja garlands that he wore on his chest, as well as his Govardhan Shila. He awakens within my heart and make after him. That's from verse 11. Goswami goes to Vrindavan. Raghunath Das Goswami remained under Goswami's tutelage in Puri, thus gaining direct access to Mahaprabhu's confidence and association. In all, he remains there for 16 years until the Lord and Sarup Damodar Prabhu disappeared to the eyes of this world. This morning I heard 14 years, but it's actually Mahaprabhu. When this event took place, Raghunath Das Goswami felt that he could no longer live in their absence and decided to go to Vrindavan to commit suicide by jumping from Govardhan Hill. When he arrived in Vraj, he met Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis. They persuaded him not to put an end to his life, adopted him as their third brother, and kept him with them. Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami were enriched by hearing the nectarian pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. Sorry, it keeps on cutting, guys. Anyways, thanks for sticking with it, even though it's cutting out. Okay. So they persuaded him not to put an end to his life and adopted him as their third brother and kept him with him. Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami were enriched by hearing about the nectarian pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from Raghunātha Das Goswami. Raghunātha Das Goswami's separation from Mahaprabhu and Radha Krishna became so intense that he gave up eating solid food altogether, only drinking a little buttermilk to sustain himself. He would pay 1,000 prostrated obeisances, chant 1 lakh of the holy of Harinam, and serve Radha and Krishna mentally, both day and night. And he would recount the glorious pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and bathe 3 times a day without fail in Radhakund. This was the exemplary standard of bhajan set by Raghunātha Das Goswami, in which he served their lordships for more than 22 hours a day, sleeping only an hour and a half, if at all. Raghunātha Das Goswami's renunciation may superficially be compared to that of the Buddha, but when examined more closely, it will be observed that there are some unique characteristics in Raghunātha Das Goswami's asceticism. The external meaning of renunciation is detachment from sense gratification, but its true meaning is an attachment to the Supreme Person. Vairagya, Vishesh, Rag, right? Raghunātha Das Goswami's strong attachment to the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna meant that he was completely and naturally detached from anything which was not connected to his worshipable lords. This kind of renunciation is actual. Radha Kund. Srila Raghunātha Das Goswami lived a long life. Srinivasacharya had the chance to receive his blessings before leaving Vrindavan to return to the east with the Goswami's books. Srinivasacharya was astounded by Raghunātha Das Goswami's powerful asceticism and deep absorption in love. Raghunātha Das Goswami wrote 3 books, Stavavali, Shri, also known as Dankeli Chintamani, and Mukta Charita. He lived in Radhakund, where he engaged in his most intense devotional practices. He was blessed there by Prabhu's potency, Janavadevi, when she visited Radhakund. Earlier, when Mahaprabhu himself visited the village of Arit, he displayed the pastime of bathing in a rice field, by which he indicated the presence of Radhakund and Shamakund. Until then, the 2 ponds had still not been excavated, nor was there a proper bank. Raghunātha Das Goswami thought it would be a good idea to have this work done, but the next moment he became indignant for having desired such. However, one day, a rich merchant who was on a pilgrimage to Badri Narayan with the intention of donating a large sum of money to the temple there. Badri Narayan appeared to him in a dream and told him to fund Goswami's vision of a developed Radhakund and Shamakund. The merchant came back to Vraj and found Raghunātha Das Goswami in the village of Arit and recounted the story of the dream to him. Raghunātha Das Goswami advised the excavation of the ponds and the subsequent building of stone step walkways. 5 trees stood on the banks of Shamakund, which are said to be the 5 Pandavas. Raghunātha Das Goswami had the intention of cutting down these trees so that Shamakund could be made perfectly rectangular. Before this could happen, however, Raghunātha Das Goswami had a dream in which Yudhishthira appeared to him and told him present in Radhakund in the form of these trees. He immediately stopped the workers from cutting them down. This is why Shamakund was not built as a perfect rectangle. Other legends about Raghunātha in Vraj. And I think after we finish this, then I'll stop for today. We won't read about Raghunandan Ṭhākura. Another story is told about Raghunātha Das Goswami. It is said that when he read Rupa Goswami's play Lalit Madhav, he was submerged in an ocean of separation. Though he was permanently in Radharani's association at Radhakund, he was unable to tolerate even a moment's separation and was restless always. When he read the Lalit Madhav, which has separation from Krishna as its primary subject matter, this mood became so strong that his survival became even more difficult. Rupa Goswami saw Raghunātha Das Goswami's response to his play. He gave him the book Dankeli Kumudi, which is full of humor and amusing banter, and took back his copy of Lalit Madhav. When Raghunātha Das read Dankeli Kumudi, his feelings of separation vanished. At first, when staying by Radhakund, Raghunath Das Goswami had no fixed shelter. He occasionally stayed with Gopal Bhatta Goswami, whose cottage was situated on the bank of Manasa Ganga in Govardhan. One day, he took bath in the Manasa Ganga and then went to sit under a tree surrounded by unkept thickets and began to worship the Lord in devotional trance. While he was meditating, a tiger came there to drink water. Sanatan Goswami was also present there at the time and observed Raghunath Das Goswami as he remained unmoved, even though exposed to such danger. He instructed Raghunath Das Goswami to build a cottage in which to live and engage in his devotional activities. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami had special affection for a certain Vrajvasi whose name was Das. Raghunath Das Goswami's daily nourishment consisted of only a leaf bowl of buttermilk. This Vrajvasi was distressed to learn that Raghunath Das Goswami ate so little, thinking that it was impossible for him to keep alive on such a small amount. One day, when in the place known as Sakistali, he was overjoyed to see a palash tree with huge leaves. He had a bigger bowl made with these leaves, in which he put buttermilk for Raghunath Das Goswami and then brought it to him. Raghunath Das Goswami was quite astonished to see such a large leaf bowl and asked him where he got it. When he heard the name of Sakistali, he immediately threw down the bowl. Sakistali is the home of Chandravali, Radharani's primary rival for Krishna's love. Chandravali Sakis, like Shaibya, are constantly looking for ways to take Krishna away from Radha's bower and bring him to that of their girlfriend. Just as Radharani is distressed by these actions, so are her girlfriends. Raghunath Das Goswami was a member of Radharani's entourage, and so it was his role to constantly think of how to bring happiness to her and her girlfriends. As soon as he heard the name of Sakistali mentioned, he was transported by anger. This mood is the ultimate stage of love, which envious people who are burdened by material lust can never understand. In the Bhakti Ratnakar, it is written, we're at the end now. After calming down, Raghunath Goswami said to Das, "That is Chandravali's place. You shouldn't ever go there." Das Vrajavasi calmed down and recognized that these were the symptoms of spiritual perfection in which he was apparently in what was apparently a spiritual aspirant. All these devotees are eternal elected souls. Ignorant fools cannot understand this. That's from Bhakti Ratnakar 572 to 574. There is one other extraordinary... Let me just check everything's okay. Looks like it. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry about that. I really need to get this new Airtel system set up. Anyways. There is one other extraordinary legend about Raghunath Das Goswami recounted in the Bhakti Ratnakar. One day, he was exhibiting pastimes of suffering from indigestion. Vittalanath came with 2 doctors from Ballabha to cure Raghunath Das. Is that Vittalacharya? That's so cool. After examining him, the doctors said that the indigestion had been caused by eating rice and milk. Vittalanath was astonished to hear this diagnosis and said, "This is impossible. This man never eats anything but buttermilk." Raghunath Das Goswami then spoke up, saying that he had indeed eaten some milk and rice in the course of his meditation on the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Sri Raghunath Das Goswami left his body on the banks of Radhakund. Body stands. This took place on the Shukla Dwadashi Tithi of the month of Ashvin. All right, so that's our reading for today. We've already been reading for an hour and 10 minutes. So, all right. I'm going to give you an option. And since Indira Mataji and Pradyumna Prabhu are, and Ganga Mataji and Gargarajji, since you're all like been joining the readings for so long, you can tell me what you would prefer. Should I read from Srimad Bhagavatam tomorrow, or should I read about Raghunandan Ṭhākura and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur tomorrow morning during a Srimad Bhagavatam reading? Let me know, and I will do whatever you say. So we have a choice of either Srimad Bhagavatam or that, or reading about these other two personalities. And for people in the West, it will still be the day, so it'd be nice for people in the West. Because then the day after tomorrow is Advaita Saptami. There's so many days coming up. I'll show you. Look at this. Okay, so tomorrow, day after tomorrow is Advaita Saptami, and then 4 days from now is Madhvacharya. 5 days from now is Ramanujacharya. 6 days from now is Bhaimi Ekadashi. 7 days from now is Varahadvadashi, and 8 days from now is Nityananda Trayodashi. So it's just going to be festival after festival after festival after festival for a long time now. And then soon after, let's actually, we can just look at it in my calendar. That's even more clear. Calendar.google.com. See all the days, how like every day is colored? These are all just tithis. Oops. Look at that. That's January. So the rest of this month is just full. Tomorrow's the only free day and all the rest are festival days. Look at that. Oh my God. Nityananda Trayodashi, then Narottam Das Thakur, then Param Gurude's 120th. Whoa, it's going to be Param Gurude's 125th appearance day. Oh. No, that's a mistake. The Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur 150th appearance day is next year. Anyways, then Bhakti Bhudev Shroti Goswami Maharaj, Srila Gaura Govinda Goswami Maharaj, Bhakti Saranga Goswami Maharaj. Anyways, it just doesn't end. All right. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Okay, Indira Mataji, I am going to read about these two personalities. I'm not going to do Srimad Bhagavatam tomorrow. Thank you. That's actually kind of what I wanted to do also. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandhar Vikagiri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai. Nityal Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Gurudev Ki Jai. Nityal Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityal Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Sai Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nityal Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityal Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nityal Vishnu Mahabhagavat Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityal Vishnu Shada Sachirananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Nityal Vishnu Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shada Raghunātha Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Nuga Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhattara Shri Jeev Gopala Bhattadasa Raghunātha Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarai Ramanandari Shri Gaura-pariṣada-caritāvali Ki Naam Acharya Shri Haridas Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu ne Shri Adhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Chaitya Mandala Gaura Mandala Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Pradakta Giriraj Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Maya Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Anandi Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, samagata gaur bhakta vrinda ki jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vrindai Tulsi Devai. Oh, sorry. Let me say all these personalities. Srila Raghunātha Gosvāmī ki jai, Shri Pundarik Vidyani ki jai, I'm just mixing them all up. Shri Vishnupriya Devi ki jai, Shri Raghunandana Ṭhākura ki jai, Tandiya Shubha Abhirbhav Titi ki jai, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ki jai, Srila Bhakti Vivek Bharati Goswami Maharaj ki jai, and it's Bhakt something Parvat Maharaj ki jai, Tadiya Shubha Tirobhav Titi ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vrindai Tulsi Priyai Keshavascha Krishna Bhai Satyavadaya Namo Namaha Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva cha Titanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams everybody. Thanks, Indira Mataji. You know, I kind of like doing this, beginning my day with reading and ending my day with reading. Maybe I might make it a permanent thing. I don't want to commit to anything yet, but maybe, just maybe, it'd be nice. Thank you, Ananda Gopal Prabhu. Haribo. Yeah, thanks for letting me know that I was not sharing my screen. Otherwise, I would have gone the whole time. Right. Oh, the YouTube channel link. Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel. And Indira Mataji, you can go to sleep. Thank you so much for joining. But the YouTube channel link is if you go on if you go into YouTube and you just type in Madhukar Das, I think my YouTube channel should appear. And I also have a WhatsApp group I can show you. Look, I'm sharing my. Okay, so check this out. See, I have this daily Bhagavatam WhatsApp group. We have 36 people on it. And every time that I go live to read anything, I also give the link. So if you'd like to join this group, I can just give you the link. Where it invites to group via link. I'll put it in the chat comments. Oops, what am I doing? Here. I'm pasting it here. There. It's in the comments. You should be able to, well, hopefully it appears there. All right, so I see 2 X's here also. Then just send me a private message and I will on Facebook. All right, thank you so much for joining. Jai Shri Radhe Haribo. And so we're going to be reading about all these personalities soon. All right, Haribo, everybody. I'm going to the video now.